Tamamo was once a badass knight who met his end at the hands of demons. But after he kicked the bucket, he got reincarnated into the body of an S-rank behemoth, a creature that could wipe out entire nations in seconds. At least that's what his status screen says. In reality, he looks like just a regular cat. He's grateful for this second chance at life, but he's kinda torn about becoming a monster, especially since he spent his whole human life slaying them. While he's contemplating his new life, an E-rank slime slowly inches toward him. Tama can tell the slime's trying to eat him, so he quickly checks his status screen to pick a skill for self-defense. He unlocks the ability to fire rocks from his mouth. He uses it to kill the slime, no problem. Relieved but hungry, Tama realizes he hasn't eaten since his reincarnation. He decides to try the slime, and to his surprise, it tastes delicious. Even better, eating monsters gives him their skills. From the slime, he gets the ability to store items. Pumped by his new powers, Tama decides to explore the dungeon more to see what other monsters or meals he can find. And, being an S-rank, none of the dungeon's inhabitants are a real threat. He easily slays minotaurs, golems, and snakes, devouring them and absorbing their skills. So, life as a cat monster ain't so bad, and Tama starts to enjoy his new existence. Meanwhile, at the dungeon's entrance, a well-endowed elf girl shows up, ready to start her adventuring day. Back with Tama, his exploration leads him to a treasure chest sitting in the middle of a room. Excited, he rushes to open it, stoked to see real treasure for the first time. But inside, he finds a huge gem. Before he can even celebrate, he realizes the chest's a trap, and instead of being a mimic, the trap teleports him to a hidden boss room. So now, Tama finds himself perched on the back of an earth dragon, and unlike the other monsters he's faced, this one's S-rank, meaning he won't be able to one-shot it like the rest. Then, the dragon mocks Tama for daring to intrude on her lair, swearing she's gonna end his life. But Tama, who's only an hour old in this new life, ain't going down that easily. He tries his rock attack, but it's hilariously useless against the earth dragon. The rocks bounce right off her tough scales, ricocheting into the ceiling and making a small hole. The dragon counters by slashing at him, and Tama uses his iron body skill to defend himself. While the skill keeps him alive, the slash still leaves him badly injured. The dragon's impressed by his survival, calling him tenacious, but still no match for her. She lunges forward to finish him off, but in a last-ditch effort, Tama activates a newly unlocked flight skill, slashing at her eye with his tail before making a quick escape through the hole in the ceiling. Badly hurt and bleeding out fast, Tama tries to make it out of the dungeon to find a safe spot to recover, but he's just a few steps from the exit when he collapses from blood loss. Lying there, helpless, he hears something coming around the corner, unable to move. He figures whatever it is will easily finish him off, but instead of a threat, it's the well-endowed elf girl from earlier. Seeing Tama's near-dead body, she rushes over to help him. Tama wakes up hours later, finding himself lying in a comfy bed with his wounds all bandaged up. He's confused, wondering where he is until the elf girl walks in with a bowl of milk. Remembering her face from before he passed out, Tama's in awe of her beauty and silently admires those massive, well-done melons. The elf, Ara, is relieved to see Tama awake, commenting on how serious his wounds were. She can't believe how a little kitten like him ended up in such a dangerous dungeon. Tama quickly realizes she thinks he's just a regular cat and not an S-rank behemoth. Since he can't talk, there's no way to correct her, but even if he could, why would he? This misunderstanding means he gets to sleep on her legendary cushion every day and night. Over the next few weeks, Ara continues to care for Tama until he fully recovers from his injuries. One day, as Ara heads out for her usual dungeon run, Tama reflects on how grateful he is for everything she's done for him. She didn't just nurse him back to health, she gave him food, a warm place to sleep, and all-around unconditional kindness. Determined to repay her, Tama swears to protect her with his life, no matter what. To make sure she stays safe, he decides to secretly follow her into the dungeon. He sneaks out before she leaves and hides. Once they're at the dungeon, Tama keeps a close eye on Ara, staying hidden in the shadows. He's worried about her getting into some crazy situation, like losing her clothes to a slime or something absurd. Ready for anything, he prepares himself to jump in at the first sign of danger, but his worries quickly ease as Ara encounters a group of goblins. She activates her acceleration skill and takes them out with incredible precision, cutting them down with ease. After the fight, she bends down to collect the goblin ears for the reward. Watching her in action, Tama's genuinely impressed. His experience as a knight lets him recognize the level of skill and speed in her swordplay, and he can't help but admire her abilities. As Ara finishes storing the goblin ears, she spots another goblin lurking behind a corner and gets ready to fight again. She's already met her quota for goblins today, but if this one insists on attacking, she'll deal with it. What she doesn't realize, though, is that this isn't just any goblin, it's a goblin mage. Before she can react, the goblin launches a massive fireball at her, completely unprepared for that. Ara's in serious trouble. Tama can't just stand by and let her get hurt, but he knows using any of his overpowered skills would reveal he's a monster, something he's not ready to explain. So, he acts quickly, pushing Ara out of harm's way and lunging at the goblin mage. With a flash of his regular kitty paws, he knocks the goblin backwards, sending it tumbling down the dungeon stairs to its demise. Ara's stunned by what just happened and can't figure out how or why Tama's in the dungeon, but her gratitude for his help is clear. On the boat ride back to town, she lets him curl up on her ample chest, rewarding him with belly rubs, and that's when Tama gets hooked. After returning to town, Ara heads straight to the Adventurers Guild to turn in the goblin ears. On her way to the reception desk, she runs into Lord C. Casman, a man she's met before and been trying to avoid. Casman, as usual, tries to convince Ara to join his party, but she politely declines, already well aware of his sleazy reputation. Casman won't take no for an answer, though, and in an attempt to prove how gross he is, he reaches out to grab her chest. But before he can make contact, Tama leaps into action, biting his hand and holding on tight. Kazman screams in pain, flailing around, but Tama doesn't let go. When Kazman finally shakes him off, the cat lands on his face, clawing him up before jumping back to Ara's chest. Kazman, now totally pissed and humiliated, grabs for his sword, intent on attacking Tama. But before he can even swing, the guildmaster, Arnold Schwarzenegger, known as Anna, grabs Kazman's sword mid-draw and warns him that the guild has strict rules about drawing weapons for petty reasons like biting a cat. She tells him there'll be serious consequences if he goes through with it. Realizing he's no match for Anna's authority, Kazman reluctantly backs down and storms out of the guild. Era thanks Anna for stepping in, but Anna says it's nothing, praising Tama for defending her so fiercely. Era then heads to the reception desk to turn in the goblin ears, officially completing her quest. Afterward, Era sits down to relax, spending some quality time with Tama. Things seem pretty wholesome as she tickles his stomach, but the mood shifts when her fingers drift a little too low, grazing his more private areas. The pervy elf gets way too excited about that. Later, Ara gets ready to take a bath and insists on bringing Tama along, still holding on to his honor as a former knight. Tama refuses to enter a women's bath, but Ara has other plans. Despite his protests, T ends up in the bath with her. While they soak, Ara starts talking about her dreams. She tells Tama how her village was almost destroyed by demons years ago, and how the legendary sword, saying Alicia appeared and saved everyone. Since then, Ara's dedicated herself to becoming as strong and heroic as Alicia. The next day, Ara heads to the guild with T, and as they walk through town, Tama notices how well-liked Ara is by everyone. The townsfolk greet her warmly, showing just how much they admire her. When they arrive at the guild, Ara cheerfully greets Arnold at the reception desk. However, Arnold's face turns serious as he warns her that today's not a good day to be there, and advises her to leave quickly. Unfortunately, before Ara can take his advice, Kazman struts into the guild, walking with a smug air. He loudly announces that after being injured by her cat, he reported the incident to the bar, and as a result, he was issued a special order declaring that Ara's pet cat must be put down. Ara is horrified. Even though she hasn't had Tamama for long, he's already become incredibly precious to her, and she can't bear the thought of losing him. So, she falls to her knees, pleading with Kazman to show mercy. Kazman, reveling in her desperation, proposes a duel. If Ara wins, Tama's life will be spared, but if Kazman wins, Ara must agree to marry him. The terms are super unfair. Not only is Kazman a higher rank than Ara, but the stakes are heavily skewed in his favor. Still, with no other options to save Tama, Ara reluctantly agrees. The duel begins, and he immediately kicks Ara in the side, sending her sprawling. As she recovers, he sarcastically compliments her speed, taunting that it won't be enough to defeat him. Ara then switches tactics, throwing a flurry of daggers at Kazman, but his knife-proof cape renders the attack useless, and he easily deflects them. Kazman then closes the distance and presses forward relentlessly, striking with his sword. Ara struggles to defend herself, but is eventually disarmed, leaving her vulnerable and at his mercy. With her weapon gone, all hope seems lost for Ara. T watches the scene unfold, his mind racing. If he does nothing, Ara will be forced to marry Kazman, but if he steps in and uses his skills, everyone will realize he's a monster. Kazman raises his sword, ready to deliver the final blow and force Ara to surrender. But just as he swings, T makes his decision to protect her and leaps in front of the blade, activating his iron body skill to block it. The force of the skill shatters the sword, leaving Kazman stunned. Tama then unleashes a powerful howl skill, sending Kazman flying into a cluster of nearby trees. And by pure coincidence, the broken sword flies in the same direction, aiming straight for Kazman's balls. This result ensures Kazman's day goes from bad to absolutely miserable. The crowd erupts into murmurs, stunned by what they just witnessed. Everyone knows they saw the cat use skills, something no ordinary pet could do. T had anticipated this moment, knowing his actions would reveal his secret, so he's certain it's only a matter of time before the crowd realizes he's a monster, and when they do, they'll likely come for him. But despite this, Tama feels no regret, because his only concern was protecting Ara, and in that, he succeeded. Ara and Arnold then approach Tama cautiously, both clearly amazed. They begin discussing what Tama could be, but instead of concluding that he's a monster, they convince themselves that he must be an elemental cat, a rare and magical creature. T, stunned by their misunderstanding, can hardly believe his luck. Arnold then declares Ara the winner of the duel, and with the matter settled, everything returns to normal. Or, as normal as life can be for an overpowered cat with the most legendary and comfortable cushion in the world. The next morning, Ara tries to cuddle Tama out of bed, but the playful kitten decides to nibble on her ear in a way that leaves her totally flustered and blushing like crazy. As a former honorable Knight K, she quickly realizes this is getting weird, so she jumps out of bed, trying to walk away, but Ara keeps calling after him, her tone all soft and longing, making it even more awkward for Tama. Later, Ara takes Tama to the blacksmith shop to visit her friend Vulcan. The moment they walk in, Vulcan's all about Tama, can't take her eyes off the cute little kitten. Ara talks about Tama, telling stories, and Vulcan's all eager to hold him. Tama looks thrilled when Vulcan picks him up, admiring how cute he is, but Ara quickly shifts focus to the real reason they're there. She needs Vulcan to make armor for Tama. Vulcan's stoked, super excited to work on something so unique and charming, so she starts measuring Tama right away, promising Ara she'll make the perfect armor. As Vulcan gets to work, Ara bends down to whisper to Tama, asking if he's ready for an adventure. T's all in, tail flicking with excitement as he agrees without hesitation. While Ara and Tama make their plans, Vulcan's laser focused on crafting the armor, treating it like it's her life's mission. In just under 10 minutes, Vulcan's done and presents the completed armor. It's a masterpiece. Tama looks sharp in it, and the fit's perfect. But then Vulcan admits admits she's still got a problem with ARA's sword. She's reforged it over 100 times, but it's still too heavy for ARA to wield well on her quests. After thinking it over, Vulcan suggests forming a temporary party so she can watch ARA swing the sword and figure out what's going wrong. So, that day, the team dives into the dungeon. Vulcan goes full beast mode, smashing through the goblins they run into. Aara watches with pure excitement, amazed by Vulcan's strength and confidence, while Tama thinks Vulcan is fearless and mad skill. Vulcan's skills get even more legit when she blocks a fireball attack from a monster with a move that comes from her smithing abilities. She explains that her power lets her wrap her armor in different elements, making her versatile in battle. With the path cleared, Vulcan steps aside, encouraging ARA to take over with her sword. Their next challenge, an ugly, oversized orc. The thing's disgusting, but ARA attacks anyway. Using her acceleration skill, she goes in for the strike, but the orc's quick and blocks her moves. That's when Tama steps in, soaring through the air, activating his iron body technique to shield ARA from a blow, distracting the orc just enough. Seizing the moment, ARA strikes, taking down the beast in one clean hit. Vulcan watches closely and notices how ARA's longsword is messing with her battle flow, making her attacks less effective. Unsatisfied, ARA turns to Vulcan, asking for an even tougher challenge, ready to push herself and get stronger. Impressed by her determination, Vulcan says they should head to the next floor, where there'll be even tougher challenges. They head down, and the team encounters a swarm of slimy, perverted ropers instead of the usual giant monsters. Tama immediately gets anxious, worried these creatures will grab ARA with their tendrils. He warns her to move smartly and avoid their sticky grips. Aara charges in, using her acceleration, but the ropers are fast and tough. Her strikes miss, and one of the ropers even shatters her heavy sword, leaving her wide open. Just as she's about to get caught, Vulcan throws a knife, and ARA catches it mid-air, driving it straight into the roper's core, taking it out in one swift move. With new determination, ARA takes down the next slime monster. Vulcan, observing her fight, realizes ARA's true strength is in wielding shorter weapons rather than her heavy longsword. In no time, ARA slices through the next monster's parts with speed and precision. Vulcan's left in awe. She knew ARA was skilled, but she didn't expect her to be this fast and efficient. Just as they think the battle's over, the monster splashes its goo all over ARA, coating her from head to toe while it regrows its limbs. ARA is disgusted and furious, cringing and saying only Tama gets to do that to her. Fueled by rage, she obliterates the creature in a single devastating attack, slicing it into so many pieces there's no way it's coming back. Vulcan and Tama rush over to congratulate her on the show of strength, but just as Vulcan gets close to offer praise, Tama, being the cheeky kitten he is, sneaks halfway to steal some juice from the dead monster, hoping to absorb its skill for himself. Meanwhile, ARA's still steaming, taking out her frustration on the monster's remains, muttering vengeful thoughts. Tama watches in silence, confused, wondering if ARA's maybe gone a little overboard. After the massacre, ARA opens up to Vulcan about why she's so focused on wielding longswords. She talks about meeting a swordsmith as a child, a figure who became her idol and inspired her to pick up the weapon, even though it didn't suit her natural fighting style. Aara dedicated years to mastering it, hoping to be like her hero. But now, after realizing daggers fit her style way better, she's embracing this new strength. Tama listens quietly, and Vulcan offers her support, reassuring her that this change will only make her stronger. Seeing ARA grow, Vulcan suggests they head deeper into the dungeon, confident ARA's ready to tackle the challenges with her daggers. They take a break near a Philosopher's Stone, a rare artifact that repels monsters. As they rest, Aara stares at the stone, memories from her childhood flooding back, the time when demons attacked her home. Lost in thought, she barely notices Vulcan's concerned look, but when Vulcan gently asks if something's wrong, Aara brushes it off quickly, changing the subject and steering the conversation elsewhere. While the group takes a break, Amma's splashing around in a pool of water, carefree and loving it. Seeing him having so much fun, Aara decides to join in, taking off her plot armor and giving Tama a clear view of what's underneath. Vulcan soon joins, and the three take a refreshing dip together. But as T swims, he's trying his best to focus on anything but their exposed classified documents. During their downtime, Aara casually asks Vulcan about her usual dungeon party, unintentionally touching on a sensitive subject. Vulcan admits that her party disbanded after two of the members fell in love, and the female member got pregnant, so the couple decided to settle down, leaving their adventuring days behind. The conversation then takes a strange turn, when Vulcan mentions that elemental cats, like Tama, crossbreed, and she wonders what might happen if T grows larger and goes into a serious heat season. Aara surprisingly finds the idea exciting. She enthusiastically encourages Tama to grow up faster so she can have his adorable meow meow babies. That makes Tama silently think to himself, what kind of madness is this? Then, as their break ends, the group heads to the next dungeon floor, where they run into a fierce minotaur. Unlike the goblins and ropers from earlier, this creature's a real tough opponent. Aara then approaches carefully, accelerating toward the beast and executing her whirlwind slash technique. However, her attack barely scratches the minotaur's thick hide, leaving her shaken. Vulcan steps in, offering encouragement and helping Aara regain her composure. Motivated by Vulcan's support, Aara refocuses, launching a series of faster and more aggressive strikes. The minotaur, overwhelmed by her speed, starts swinging its massive weapon wildly. One swing strikes the ceiling, causing debris to fall dangerously close to Vulcan. T, quick on his feet, uses his howling skill to deflect the falling boulders, saving Vulcan just in time. Inspired by T's bravery, Aara sees an opening and delivers a powerful strike directly to the minotaur's chest, bringing the beast down for good. As Tama cheers for Aara's hard-earned victory, Vulcan Vulcan stands in awe, marveling at the little cat's strength and courage. Her thoughts wander as she can't help but think that Tama's a really powerful alpha male. Back at the Adventurers Guild, ARA, Vulcan, and Tama go over the loot they collected from their dungeon raid. They then approach Arnold, who examines the deep cut marks on the Minotaur's remains and asks who managed to inflict such damage. With a proud smile, Vulcan reveals that the cuts were the result of ARA's newly honed skills. Arnold, recalling how much weaker ARA was when she first arrived in town, commends her growth and hard work. Flattered by the praise, ARA thanks Arnold, feeling a sense of accomplishment. With their earnings in hand, the trio heads to a local restaurant to celebrate their successful adventure. Vulcan wastes no time indulging in heavy refills, impressing Tama, who can't help but wonder if she's a heavy drinker. Ara then takes the opportunity to express her gratitude to Vulcan for her support during the raid, admitting how much fun she had working together. Vulcan shares the same sentiment, showing off a rare medicinal herb she collected in the dungeon as a memento. Their lively conversation makes Tama nostalgic, reminding him of his previous life as an adventurer when he had comrades to share such moments with. Still, Tama acknowledges that his current life isn't bad. After all, being the pampered head of a gorgeous elf is a dream few would turn down. As their bond strengthens, Vulcan proposes forming an official party. ARA, caught off guard, is flattered but too shy to answer. Sensing her hesitation, T gently bites her hand and places it on top of Vulcan's, effectively sealing the agreement on her behalf. The group erupts into cheers, celebrating their newfound partnership, and riding the high of camaraderie, they decide to order more drinks and make the evening one to remember. Later that night, T finds himself trapped between ARA and Vulcan's plot armor. The snowed-up situation doesn't help him sleep, especially when he hears ARA murmuring in her sleep, mentioning something about hoping Tama doesn't get too rough. Suspicious and mildly flustered, he manages to maintain his composure, meeting a distraction. T checks his stats and is surprised to find he's eligible for evolution. However, evolving could transform him into a massive behemoth, potentially ending his current life with ARA and Vulcan. Choosing loyalty over power, Tama decides to remain their cherished and dependable pet. The next morning, while walking through town, ARA and Tama encounter two thugs harassing a young girl, accusing her of being a pickpocket. ARA steps in immediately, and when the thugs notice her elemental cat, they scatter to avoid conflict. ARA then comforts the girl, learning she's an orphan, and takes her to a local church where nuns care for other children. Listening to ARA's heartfelt conversation with the nuns, T is filled with admiration for his master's kindness and vows to support her even more than before. That evening, Arnold calls ARA to the Adventurers Guild to congratulate her on being promoted to C rank. He hands her a gleaming new rank and as recognition for her hard work. But their celebration is interrupted by a commotion at the quest board. Arnold then explains that people have gone missing in Laterre, a nearby town, with whispers of demons being responsible. Hearing this, ARA's resolve strengthens. Driven by her grudge against demons, she eagerly asks for more information and declares her intention to accept the emergency quest without hesitation. Upon hearing the details of the case, ARA pressed Arnold for every little detail she knew about it. Vulcan started to get uneasy about the elf's eagerness to take the lead, doubting if she even had the chops for it. But ARA, being as determined as she was, wasn't backing down and wanted to act before more people got hurt. Impressed by her drive, Vulcan offered his help. Arnold observed that under the circumstances, a mercenary company might soon snatch up the two. Right then, a young man in a tunic walked into the guild. He introduced himself as Cedric, and the adventurers instantly recognized him as the Duke's oldest son, known for his mad skills in handling labyrinths. Cedric greeted Vulcan warmly, assuring her that they'd be fighting side by side soon. T remembered Cedric from the Ragnarok War, when humanity fought demons, and despite the crazy losses, they still pulled off a victory, thanks to that one prodigy, the Grand Mage, who led them to triumph and earned legendary hero status. Amid all the excitement, ARA started worrying that their group was way too small to deal with such massive threats. Arnold, though, captivated by Cedric's charm, reassured her, saying that Cedric could wow anyone. ARA, holding on to him affectionately, reminded him to keep those kinds of displays on the down low. ARA then asked, "Are you guys a couple?" And Vulcan confirmed it, leaving Tama totally confused and quiet until they got home. T could tell his master was feeling uneasy, which made sense considering the dangers they'd face on their journey. Alongside the hero, even Tama, the cat, licked the elf's face like he was trying to comfort her, and she kissed him back, startled by the exchange. Tama refocused, though, as the group got ready to head out. They met some new allies, the silver-haired Danny, the humanoid monster Howard, the fiery redhead Keeney, and Marietta. Maria introduced Tama, who quickly won everyone over with his cuteness. Marietta even took turns carrying him, but their peaceful ride came to a screeching halt when a bunch of orcs blocked the road. Seth told Danny to handle it, and the swordsman easily wiped the orcs out with zero effort. Vulcan, intrigued, asked about Danny's abilities, and Keeney confirmed he hadn't used any skills. Aera started to get the gravity of the Ragnar hero's insane strength, while Tama marveled at Danny's raw power, eagerly waiting to fight alongside him. When night fell, they reached Leonard Village, where grateful townsfolk welcomed Cedric and his crew. One villager mentioned that many locals had mysteriously disappeared, with a search party getting lost in the ruins, and another girl had been abducted just the night before. Hearing that hit ARA hard, bringing back painful memories of her homeland's invasion. The village leaders shared that Cedric's knights were their last hope. With the warriors finally off the road, the villagers quickly got a hearty meal ready for them. Later, while they settled into their lodgings, Aara got curious and asked why each of her companions chose to become knights. Danny explained that his family's poverty pushed him him to join the order to pay off debts. Howard had a similar story, and Keeney needed money to buy medicine for her sister. Marietta was fighting to get her father out of slavery. Hearing all these heartfelt reasons made T realize the weight behind their motivations. Era regretted asking, but no one in the group seemed to feel shame about their choices. They had paid their dues and were carving out their own paths. Cedric, though, gave a totally different answer. He didn't care about love or family obligations. As the Duke's son, he joined the Knights because he lacked a bigger purpose and found joy in slaying monsters. His bluntness didn't sit well with everyone, but no one said anything. After dinner, it was time to bathe. While the girls relaxed, the boys, caught up in youthful mischief, tried sneaking a peek. T, ever vigilant, caught them in the act and sent Danny and Howard scrambling back to their rooms with a loud shout. Cedric watched with mild amusement, wondering what all the excitement was about, though he couldn't fully relate. The next day, refreshed, they ventured deeper into the ominous Leonard Labyrinth, totally unaware that a sinister creature was stalking their every move. To this lurking predator, the AdV1 Enterers were nothing more than prey, silently watched, gathering strength and setting up for something big. Soon enough, a pack of sea werewolves blocked their way. Howard, the tank, stepped forward, raising his massive shield and taunting the wolves to get their attention, giving the others space to strike. Cedric showed off his swordplay with surgical precision, while Ara dove into the action, determined not to be left out. T, observing the armored werewolves, thought about unleashing a powerful roar, but opted for a water-based attack instead. His precision struck one werewolf, and he took down two more in quick succession, leaving his party stunned. The hidden monster, watching from the shadows, was shocked at how quickly his wolves were destroyed, especially by Tama, who was wielding elemental power. Still, the monster knew he couldn't let them advance. Getting ready, he prepared to step things up, either by deploying more minions or by stepping in himself. But even though the wolves had some strength, the monster knew he couldn't let these intruders get any farther. So, he geared up to either throw more of his minions at them or step in himself. Meanwhile, everyone was totally shocked by the elemental cat's abilities. Ara, completely captivated, couldn't help but say how impressed she was, even joking that she wouldn't mind being handled by Tama's strength. BBY found her words kinda weird, but T was good at controlling his instincts, reminding himself that Ara was still his master. The group moved on and eventually hit a chamber with this heavy, suffocating vibe. Cedric raised his hand, signaling the crew to stop. Out of the shadows, a demon named Barl Asterio, who turned out to be the labyrinth's master, stepped forward, saying their journey would end right there. He revealed he was a demon who'd survived the war and was out for revenge for his fallen kin. Danny immediately called him out, accusing him of targeting Leonard Village as payback, but Barl waved it off, saying Leonard was just the start of a much bigger plan. Then, with a wicked grin, he summoned a bunch of trolls to attack. Recognizing the strength of the trolls, Cedric told everyone to split up, but Barl had anticipated this and created a protective wall that separated Tama from the rest of the group. Suddenly, a troll charged at Tama, who tore off its arm in retaliation, but to his surprise, the arm grew back instantly. Meanwhile, Cedric's team got surrounded, and it became clear their only shot was to rely on Cedric to lead them out. Cedric unsheathed his blade, which started pulsing with dark magic. He let out a wicked laugh before charging two trolls, slicing them apart so thoroughly they couldn't regenerate. Barl's eyes widened when he recognized the forbidden magic Cedric was using, an ability only the Grand Mage wielded back in the Ragnarok War. Cedric, smirking, was clearly enjoying himself, thinking, this is gonna be fun. Tama tried hitting them with a stone war attack, but the trolls barely flinched, and their wounds healed right away. Realizing just how dangerous this fight was, Tama decided to pull back. His mind raced, wondering if he should evolve into his stronger form, but then he realized that would break his bond with Ara. That wasn't a sacrifice he was ready to make, so instead, he made up his mind to stay her loyal companion. He let out a flame roar, scorching the trolls to make sure their wounds wouldn't heal. His tactic worked, and the trolls collapsed. Furious about the relentless attack, Barl readied himself for what was next. Vulcan charged in, swinging his massive hammer, but Barl dodged him with ease and even parried Ara's follow-up knife strike with his own dagger. Barl smirked, making fun of the hammer's slow swings, but then, out of nowhere, Vulcan kicked up a cloud of dust, blinding him. Seizing the chance, Ara dashed forward and drove her blade into Barl's chest. At first, he didn't care, thinking it was nothing, but then the enchanted light from Ara's dagger started amplifying the wound, and Barl dropped to his knees, snarling in pain. He struck back with his dagger, landing a nasty blow on Ara, way worse than just a cut. The group rushed to her side, panic setting in as Tama feared the weapon was poisoned. To make things worse, Barl was still alive, smirking darkly and saying, humanity's gonna fall when true power returns. Then, with those chilling words, his body started to turn to stone, crumbling into dust. Meanwhile, the poison in Ara's arm spread fast. Cedric grimly examined the wound and identified it as dragon venom, an insanely deadly toxin. Howard pressed his enchanted shield against the wound, trying to slow it down. The group rushed back to Leonard Village, where the village doctor confirmed their worst fears. Dragon poison was fatal within a day and a half, and no one had ever survived without the help of an earth dragon. Desperate, the team started debating whether to hunt down the beast, but Cedric shot it down, saying there wasn't enough time. Ara's pain kept getting worse, and Tama, feeling totally overwhelmed by guilt and desperation, ran off. He remembered how Ara had saved him before and vowed to return the favor, even if it cost him everything. Tama raced to the ruins where he was reborn as an elemental cat, ready to face the earth dragon, the same creature he barely survived before. The dragon was surprised to see him back and mocked him for running away last time, but this time, Tama wasn't backing down. He knew deep down that his current strength wasn't enough, but he had no choice. So, Tama made a life-changing decision. He chose to evolve into a full behemoth, unlocking his ultimate power to save ARA. Tama, now in his massive form, rains down flames, roaring furiously at the dragon below. But the monster's quick. She lunges forward, unleashing her own torrent of fire and sinking her teeth into Tama's throat like a hot, searing wrench. Tama's pupils shake in pain, but this was all part of his plan. He knew the dragon would drop her guard like a fool once she went in for the attack. As she bites down, Tama counters by pulling out his flame edge, driving it into her eye and popping it like a water balloon. The dragon finally falls, defeated, but Tama's mana runs dry, shrinking him back to his tiny furball form. No time to feel bad about his small size, though. He's gotta deliver the dragon's eye to his master. He quickly stores the eye in his inventory, unfurls his bat-like wings, and flies off to give it to ARA. Back at their house, ARA lies patched up, fighting to stay alive. Vulcan's sitting beside her, tears in his eyes, while the rest of the crew watches the heartbreaking scene in silence. Suddenly, a loud thud outside startles everyone. Cedric and Danny rush out to find the Earth Dragon's corpse, and then the tiny, exhausted Tama lying on the dragon's bloody remains. Cedric shouts, "No time for details," ordering everyone to grab the dragon's eye and heal ARA right now. As they hurry, Tama quietly prays for ARA, unaware that she's trapped in a deep nightmare. In her dream, ARA sees her village in flames, destroyed by demons who were hunting for the Philosopher's Stone, killing anyone in their way. Young ARA, terrified, tries to run, but stumbles right into the demons and freezes ear. Just when she thinks it's all over, an elemental cat, just like Tama, appears and saves her life. Era jolts awake, the memory fresh in her mind, and now she understands why she's always loved cats. Her eyes land on Tama, curled up beside her, and she feels a wave of gratitude. The next morning, everyone's overjoyed to see Ara looking better. Vulcan, overcome with emotion, starts crying uncontrollably. While she's out of immediate danger, the toxin still lingers in her system, so ARA's got a few more days of recovery. Later that night, Tama ventures into the forest, looking for monsters to test his new skills. Since his fight with the Earth Dragon, he's been thinking a lot about how these evolutionary forms work. He's noticed that his massive form is gone, but he's gained new abilities from the dragon. Spotting a massive buffalo monster, Tama decides to practice his new Dragon Claw and Dragon Bang. With swift, brutal efficiency, the monster's dispatched in seconds, leaving Tama surprised by how much stronger he's become. Suddenly, he hears light footsteps. Out of the darkness steps a woman, her tattered clothes and sleek features in stark contrast with her unsettling aura. What's strange is she addresses Tama directly, calling him the strong one, like she knows him. But what's creepier is how she steals one of Tama's armor pieces, like she's been hunting him down. The woman then demands to know why Tama is in his little form, before breaking into a wild chase, shouting about his strong body and trying to grab him. Tama, terrified, screeches and sprints toward a small hole, barely avoiding her grasp. Her unhinged behavior totally freaks him out. He manages to escape, then heads back to ARA, who's peacefully asleep. He curls up in her arms for comfort, still shaken by the encounter. As he drifts off, he can't shake the feeling that the crazy woman seems familiar. The next day, ARA addresses Tama in a cute linen outfit with frills, making him look totally adorable. The two head out for a picnic, and ARA sets up a spread of treats, handing Tama some berries to munch on as they relax. Ara brings up the Earth Dragon, recalling how they found Tama battered and bruised near its corpse. Ara shares more about her past, asking Tama if he remembers her stories. She talks about the demon attack on her village of Lumineers, when an elemental cat saved her life. Then, the village was rescued by the Sword Saint, who defeated the demons single-handedly. That day, Ara vowed to become a strong warrior, leaving her mother and family behind with a promise to come back stronger. However, Ara's voice trembles as she admits she feels like she's always the one being saved, whether it's by Vulcan, her party, or even Tama himself. Tears form in her eyes as she confesses that, despite her vow to protect her comrades and people, it feels like she's the one who's always in need of protection. Tama quickly jumps to his feet, comforting Ara. As she wipes her tears, she understands what he's trying to tell her. She shouldn't feel down, because after all, she defeated Beryl herself and deserves some credit. Later, ARA and Tama visit Vulcan, who reveals that the armor ARA ordered is ready. ARA earned a fortune as a reward for defeating Beryl, and sold the loot from the trolls Tama defeated to get some extra cash. She invested it all in buying high-quality armor. It was expensive, but Vulcan insists that her safety is priceless. The new armor is both cute and practical, and ARA can't contain her excitement. ARA hops around, thrilled with how light and comfortable her new armor feels. Vulcan then explains every detail of the craftsmanship, but Tama just watches quietly, admiring how cool his master looks in her battle outfit. The three of them decide to go on a trip to test the armor in action. As they enter a tunnel, the atmosphere feels tense. It's been a while since ARA's ventured into a place like this. Tama jumps off her shoulder and uses his Lion King's blessing to grant her and Vulcan resistance to both fire and ice. Ara gushes, calling Tama adorable. Soon, the group encounters an ogre. Ara doesn't hesitate. She charges forward with blinding speed, surprising even Vulcan. She doesn't even use her skills, and with one precise blow, she beheads the creature, leaving it no chance to fight back. Ara celebrates her success, praising the armor and her sharp moon knives, but their joy is short-lived when Tama suddenly freezes, sensing something unsettling. Out of the darkness steps the creepy woman, muttering about destiny and her quest to find Tama. Ara, confused, asks if she's a lost adventurer from ruin, but the woman denies knowing such a place. Instead, she declares herself to be born of darkness, reaching out desperately for Tama. Vulcan speculates that she might have amnesia, but her ranting grows more bizarre. She begins spilling secrets that should never be spoken aloud, and then, to everyone's everyone's shocked, she demands that Tama impregnate her. Aira stays calm, brushing her off firmly, saying that Tama is just a little kitten. Tama, horrified, hides in Aira's arms for safety. The woman gets enraged, accusing Aira of taming Tama and stealing him away. Despite the bizarre interaction, Aira remains compassionate and invites the woman to join their group, reasoning that it's safer than leaving her alone, where she might end up as a slave or worse. Aira reassures Tama that he'll be protected, and the woman reluctantly agrees, seeing this as her best chance to stay close to him. On their way back, Aira decides to give the wild woman a name. The girl doesn't seem to care much, but Aira points to a star in the sky and suggests calling her Stella, saying it means beautiful in her homeland. Even Tama likes the name, and the woman agrees to be called Stella. Once they get home, they face the tough task of washing Stella. She impatiently asks how long it will take, but Aira is determined to scrub her clean. When it's finally done, Stella feels amazing and hops up, marveling at the piece of stone used to scrub her. Vulcan corrects her, explaining that it's soap. Getting carried away, Stella cannonballs into the pool, splashing around like an excited child. Aira then calls Tama over to wash his little feet, and Stella, seeing this, gets jealous. She grumbles that it's not fair and demands to wash Tama herself. Aira calmly turns her down, saying only she, as his owner, has that privilege. Later that night, Tama wakes up to Stella telepathically calling him. To his shock, he sees her creepily staring at him. They're communicating through their minds. Stella reminds him of how he slaughtered her, which confuses Tama until she mentions the labyrinth. That's when it clicks. Stella is the reincarnated Earth Dragon. She explains that she was born in darkness with S-rank abilities, invincible to other creatures until Tama defeated her by popping her eye. After she died, she was reborn, just like Tama, but this time in the form of a fragile, tattered maiden. As she lay dying in her past life, she swore a vow to find Tama in her next life, and now she's here, fulfilling that promise. Tama stands hunched, nervous as he listens to her story, asking if she's here for revenge. She reveals her intentions are far worse. Calmly, she declares that she has completely submitted to him and has no interest in battle. What she wants instead is his cat juice to multiply, leaving Tama utterly horrified. She passionately admits that he is the only strong male she's ever encountered and that she's fallen hopelessly in love with him. Without warning, Stella lunges at Tama, her intentions clear, but just in time, Aira intervenes, pulling Tama to safety and leaving Stella quivering in a corner in shame. Aira scolds Stella firmly, warning her to stay away from Tama before calmly heading back to bed. However, as Tama tries to settle down, he can still hear Stella's ominous muttering in the darkness, promising that she'll find a way to reach him. Episode 4 ends here. I'll catch you in the next one. Subscribe for more. Peace out.